Hi all, welcome to Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. Always enjoy Suzuka, it's always been a little favourite of mine. So starting off with the sponsorship stuff, apologies as well for not keeping up to this daily. Obviously joys of our thing, so I'm going to try and hopefully maybe push 2 or 3 races up to the end of the season, get out the road, try and get back ahead of stuff, and then we will obviously get into the second season from there, because we've kind of eked over the line as well for this first season. But I think a big part of it as well, I'm playing a lot more online as well now, so you kind of, the time that I would have spent editing and doing the races, I'm kind of not doing as much. But with the sponsors in general, we want to try and have 3 that are realistic just now, because it will take a bit of time to get to 20. And like quite a few of them are obviously trying to set you the hard ones where it's like, oh, you've got to be leading the race for 4 laps. I ain't going to do that unless it's like Canada or Baku. It's like, and realistically, and even a clean race I ain't going to do, because I've noticed quite a lot of races where even if we go absolutely clean, no collisions, no nothing, for some reason we get damage deduction, so therefore that would lose your clean race bonus because your car has taken damage somewhere, whether it be the floor or it could be one of the wings. So I've spent quite a bit of time looking over all of these, just kind of breaking them all down and realistic for us, because it's at that stage of the game where I feel we're starting to see improvement, but I feel once I start to incorporate setups for every track, I'll see a real difference even more, and I think that's where I'll bump up the difficulty further. Obviously everyone's different to like how they want to put for sponsors and stuff, but also for like what they want to set themselves, because you want realistic sponsors from your primary to your secondary. So question ones are like, they're not a given, because I've noticed like you have to have quite a quality station to help that, and then have a good and so forth. But between that and everything else going on, so we're making hopefully good inroads in due course, but I'm hoping everything kind of works its way quite nicely. But the car's getting there, and upgrades will happen in due course. We've obviously still got to factor in the regulations, so obviously when they officially drop in the game, and also what upgrades it does to the upgrades we've obviously done on the R&D, we've got to factor them in as well. But we'll see what happens. It's just a case of, if we know what we've got to do patiently, then we'll be fine. So I'm sure it's not going to be as bad as it will be for us. It might take a little bit of effort, but we'll see what happens, and we'll just get into everything from there.
Here, we can spend any extra money that you secured on perks. Each of these perks benefit both you and your current team. They stay with you, so they'll make you a more attractive prospect in future negotiations.
But for us, kind of qualifying's obviously going to be like the testing ground for anything. Like we've put time, because of the time we've been putting in online as well, we've started to get more kind of resolute setups with the car. So I feel like even though like setups might not necessarily suit the car because of the game will obviously have its own adjustments, so you've obviously got to compensate maybe here and there for the car, but I feel regardless that we're seeing steady difficulty progression for us, but at the same time we know realistically that we aren't going to get to like a level of like the elite, like say playing like ultimate difficulty and all that kind of stuff. Like we know that we're comfortable at expert now, we've got our feet comfortable again where we are with the game, and I feel it's a case of us, it's where some tracks were going to be strong, like Suzuka. I feel like it should be, the first sector is always going to be my test. If I can nail the first sector down, I'm always in for a good race. But it then becomes a case of sector 3, start sector 3, going through the follow through. If I get my angles wrong, we are going in the barrier. But to be honest, anyone does. When it's here, this section of the track, it's usually this section. I don't know why, like going round, I always seem to lose some sort of control sometimes. Not always, but I'm like, how on earth does that happen? It begs belief. And then try to not go wide here is kind of ideal, but I almost feel like I should be putting it on stripped for like corner cutting and track limits, that type of stuff, because it's the one area that I am pretty bad at. But it would also then make it a bit more interesting on my part, like to see if I can rectify those kind of mistakes better. We've come through the start finish line, we've got a good pace, I would say. We're not bad. Like, we're behind Ricard. Like, I thought we had a good lap initially, and we just scraped into Q2, so I was kind of thinking initially we'd set a good time. Turned out we were wrong. De Vries was just unlucky to miss out, and the Alphas, who we thought were going to be starting to become a danger after how Monza went for them, they just haven't seemed to have kicked on. It's almost as if they've digressed, which is a strange one, but regardless, we get through for Q2, and for us it's just, all we realistically need is just no mistake. It's like, it almost seems like no mistakes is kind of needed maybe to get us into Q3. I've maybe not got the pace quite right yet for like setup for the car. It might suit when I'm doing it like an online car, but maybe with this car it might just not quite suit it enough yet. I'm not sure, or it's just me being per usual where I'm just not getting my lines right, following the racing line and so forth. I'm hitting the grass or the going just off the track onto the tarmac areas maybe, but it's regardless. I just want to keep level-headed and just hope and pray that even if we have a not so great qualifying, we know our race pace has been pretty good this season, regardless of difficulty, regardless of situation. Been like the odd race, obviously we haven't been as strong, but coming through the start finish line, and interesting to see a few folk on the mediums. We do just enough to get into Q3, but as we said, quite a few on mediums, which was kind of the noticeable point. But yeah, that was quite a weird one. But for start of Q3 for us, it was just mainly try and get as high up as possible, try and get out. For us, realistically, it's always first bend situation. Get rid of the deal with the first bend and you're fine. Like, but because it's the AI, you've almost got to give it the first lap. So bit of grass work here, so if you need your lawn cut at all, then this car can do it for you. But you might need new grass after it because it's clearly going to be shredded quite badly. But that's what you get with this car. But at the moment, despite those kind of mistakes, I think the only problem is as well, I've seen a few of the corners through qualifying. When I'm attacking the bend to come out, I'm not getting all the juice out, so that's one area we've got to kind of look at, see why we're not coming out the bend the way we would like.
Qualifying complete.
And in the end we qualified 9th. I just couldn't really, the second lap when I tried to get going just didn't happen. It wasn't really clicking for us. But we tried to get a second half decent lap and just wasn't materialising. I was making too many silly little mistakes. But we'll get into the race, folks. Hopefully it's a good one and we will take it from there.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. What was the secret of your qualifying pace? After all the teams have updated their cars for next season's regulation changes. Great. Well, that's everything.
We come to you live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that has seen many title deciders over the years. Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix an indispensable stop in any Formula One season. We're southwest of the city of Nagoya today at a wet and windy Suzuka circuit. 3.6 miles and 18 corners make up a lap here, with Sector 1 likely to prove especially difficult in these conditions. We should see overtaking into turns 1 and 16 today, and maybe a few Kobayashi-style dives into the hairpin as well. Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. Can we talk about Mercedes? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo and Leclerc, Fiat, Albon, Graham and Esteban Ocon, Stroll, Norris, Pierre Gasly and Raikkonen, Perez, Sainz, Antonio Giovinazzi and Nick de Vries, Magnussen, Grosjean, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time.
So for us the expected strategy is obviously stick to intermediates, obviously see how this race goes for the weather in general, but usually when it still rains in Suzuka it generally doesn't go away unless it's like a longer race usually. But we've got the inside line here, which I was not expecting. Don't know what the AI was doing there, just completely gave me the inside line. Yes, we got a little warning for collision, which I was unintentional about, but the AI completely went napping there. I honestly don't know why it did that, and just basically was like, opened the door to the inside. I was, on like the left. I thought, why, like that just basically gave me free rein to just go down and make up a pile of positions without breaking sweat. That's just safe to say an interest. I'm not going to catch the Mercedes, I know that for a fact. They've seen their upgrades now are vastly improved. Like Bottas, yes, we were competitive with him in Sochi to an extent, but that was dry and we had kind of like I think the jump on him early. This is this I feel with, even though it's Suzuka and it's in the wet, realistically though you're going to see a big difference regardless. But that, as I said, that section there I told you was where I nearly lost it. But at the moment I honestly feel now it's just a case of drive smart and we could have pretty much third in the bag. It's going to be a case of fuel management, ERS management, and just hope and pray we can keep control of the car. If a safety car happens then it makes things interesting, but because it would make folk, I would go with the mindset, could you pit on fresh tyres? Could you go to the, if weather was to dry up at all, could you go to mediums? But safe to say, it's just a case of watch this race now and hopefully see what happens from here. in the end, this has just turned into quite the... No, I wouldn't say it's turned into a boring race. It's been more a case of we've kept enough pace and slowly, lap by lap by lap, we've slowly built gaps on Verstappen, Vettel and others. Whereas Hamilton and Bottas were just far superior to us in every regard. We've just done our job and we've bagged ourselves a very impressive podium, I feel, in the end. Yes, it's down for the first lap, but you can't take it away regardless. If that hadn't probably happened, I don't think we might have been able to work through the field, but I don't know. Like, we bagged driver of the day. But fair play to Mercedes, 1-2, probably, and the championship definitely getting more interesting as well. And safe to say we've got, that just puts a big dent in everyone else around us, because we keep getting, like, if we're getting results like this, it just keeps, like, we're not going to be like best of the rest for like constructors or drivers, but it's definitely shown that we've got a good bit of work still to do, but I'm delighted with that regardless. It's like a very impressive debut season as it were. We'll keep going though, keep digging hard. As I said, if the time we put effort into the setups as well, we'll be laughing, and hopefully with a few more, bit more practice, bit more up in the difficulty, you never know, we might be a team that's challenging Mercedes more consistently and actually having the battles. But all in all though, I am delighted with how that race went, and Bottas for the fastest lap. But both of them were driving that quick, I was never going to keep up with them regardless. But let me know folks how you found that. The race, small improvement, not the most impressive race from him, but as I said, but I think, as I say, for second season we'll definitely work hard on him, so it helps him out massively. Let me know in the comments how you felt that race went. Smash like, always, sub to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you all later.